You felt it, haven't you? That persistent echo of outcomes despite your most fervent efforts to shift. It's the same missed opportunity, the same broken promise, just wearing a slightly different disguise. You tell yourself it's bad luck or a flaw in your approach. But what if it's not bad luck at all? What if these repeating outcomes aren't random glitches, but rather carefully constructed illusions? This isn't a coincidence. It's a fundamental mechanism, deeply embedded in the fabric of your perceived reality. And before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. These revelations aren't random, and if this video found you, it was meant to. Now let's begin. You're experiencing the world not as it is, but as your internal observer is configured to render it. Every setback, every déjà vu moment is a signal. It's telling you that your internal projector is still running the same film reel over and over. The feeling of being stuck is a symptom. The real issue is far deeper, resting within the very blueprint of your awareness. These illusions are a call for recognition, a demand for you to see the invisible loops that hold your reality in place. Yet the observer isn't just watching, it's an active participant. A critical truth we'll unmask as we turn to the observer loop is not passive. The observer loop is not passive, far from it. You believe you're merely witnessing reality, a silent audience to the unfolding drama of your life. But that is the grandest deception of all. Your perception isn't just a window, it's a powerful, generative force. What you focus your attention on, what you expect to see, what you fear will happen, these aren't just thoughts. They are active commands. They instruct the quantum field to coalesce into specific manifestations. The universe isn't just showing you what's there. It's responding to what you're projecting. Every time you observe a familiar pattern, every time you say, "Here we go again," you're unknowingly strengthening that very pattern. Your observation isn't neutral. It funnels potential into actuality, solidifying the outcomes you've come to anticipate. This is why change feels so elusive. You're caught in a feedback loop. Your past experiences shaped your observer, and now your observer shapes your present experiences, often cementing the very conditions you wish to escape. You are not just seeing the loop, you are the mechanism that keeps it turning. This active projection is amplified by an even more subtle mechanism, as we explore how predictive filters will keep rendering the same day. Predictive filters are the invisible architects of your everyday reality. Your brain, in its constant effort to conserve energy, doesn't process every raw bit of incoming data. Instead, it filters. It uses past experiences, beliefs, and expectations to predict what it should see, hear, and feel. This isn't a flaw, it's an evolutionary advantage, saving you from sensory overload. But it also means you're largely experiencing a reality pre-rendered by your own history. If your filters expect struggle, they will foreground every instance of struggle and downplay anything that contradicts that expectation. You walk through a world that is constantly validating your subconscious predictions. That sudden moment of clarity, that flash of insight you crave, it often gets filtered out, dismissed as an anomaly, because it doesn't fit the pre-programmed narrative. Your expectation literally dictates what becomes real for you. This means you can be standing directly in front of a new possibility, but if your filters aren't calibrated for it, you will simply not perceive it. It is as if an entire dimension of opportunity remains invisible. This powerful connection between what you expect and what you perceive creates an unbreakable bond, which we call the attention prediction lock. The attention prediction lock is a formidable force, weaving your focus and your subconscious expectations into an almost unbreakable loop. Your attention is drawn to confirming what your predictive filters have already projected. It's not just that you see what you expect, you are actively looking for it. Think of it as a spotlight guided by an internal script. The script, written by your past, tells the spotlight where to shine, and whatever the spotlight illuminates, your brain registers as evidence, further strengthening the script. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy at the deepest level of perception. You can consciously try to shift your focus, but if the underlying prediction remains unchanged, your attention will inevitably snap back to the familiar, to the expected. It's an automatic recalibration to maintain coherence with your internal map of reality. This is why sheer willpower often fails. The lock ensures that your internal reality model remains stable, even if that stability means stagnation. Breaking this lock requires more than just trying harder. It demands a disruption at the level of your core identity, which, as we'll see, is a lens, not a fact. Identity is a lens, not a fact. This is perhaps one of the most liberating, yet terrifying truths. You believe your identity is a fixed, immutable thing, who you are, your core traits, your story. But what if it's merely a sophisticated lens through which you experience the universe? This lens carries all the scratches and smudges of your past, your traumas, your triumphs, your beliefs about yourself and the world. Every perception, every interaction, every outcome is refracted through this singular, personalized filter. You're not seeing reality as it truly is. You're seeing it as your current identity is configured to interpret it. And just like a lens, it can be reshaped, cleaned, or even replaced. The difficulty lies in the deep attachment you have to this current lens. It feels like you. To question it, to allow it to shatter, feels like self-annihilation. Yet, it's precisely this attachment that keeps the familiar loop in play. This means that who you believe yourself to be is directly dictating the reality you inhabit. As long as the lens remains the same, the refracted image remains consistent. And this explains precisely why the old outcome keeps reappearing, even after inner change. Why do the old outcomes keep reappearing, even after you feel like you've genuinely changed internally? You've done the work, cleared the blocks, perhaps even shifted your mindset. Yet the same patterns, the same types of challenges resurface with an uncanny familiarity. This isn't a sign of failure in your inner work. It's evidence that your identity lens, while perhaps polished, hasn't fundamentally been swapped out for a new one. Your attempts at change are often absorbed and reinterpreted by the existing lens. The old identity, like a stubborn ghost, still exerts its influence. It interprets new information through its established framework, subtly bending new possibilities to fit old narratives. A breakthrough is perceived as a fluke. A positive shift is dismissed as temporary. The lens ensures that even progressive change is eventually brought back into alignment with its core programming. It's less about a lack of change and more about the interpretation of that change by the dominant identity. The old self, in its deepest layers, is designed for self-preservation, ensuring its continued existence through consistent reality projection. This fundamental mechanism means you're not observing reality. You're intricately reinforcing it. You're not observing reality, you're reinforcing it. Every act of perception, every judgment, every expectation you hold isn't just a mental event. It's a powerful act of energetic reinforcement. Your consciousness, through its focus, solidifies the quantum potential into your lived experience. This isn't a passive process where you're simply watching. This is an active co-creation, a continuous projection from your internal state onto the holographic canvas of the universe. When you identify with a certain limitation, you are, by definition, reinforcing that limitation into existence for yourself. The repetition you see in your life isn't happening to you. It's being created by you through this continuous act of reinforcement. The more you perceive yourself as stuck, the more deeply you engrave that reality into the energetic blueprint of your life. This is why simply intellectualizing change is rarely enough. You need to disrupt the very mechanism of reinforcement. To break this cycle, you must introduce a deliberate glitch into the system, a conscious act that unravels the automatic projection. This brings us to the loop break protocol, a micro-interruption experiment. The loop break protocol is a precise, micro-interruption experiment designed to unravel the automatic threads of reinforcement. It's about consciously inserting a discordant element into a familiar pattern, forcing the observer to reevaluate its default prediction. This isn't about grand gestures, it's about subtle, yet potent shifts. When you notice yourself falling into a familiar thought loop, a repetitive action, or even a typical reaction, instead of following it, introduce a small, deliberate deviation. It could be changing the hand you brush your teeth with, taking a different route to a common place, or consciously choosing a response diametrically opposed to your ingrained pattern. The power lies in the intentional disruption of the expected. This isn't about changing the outcome yet, it's about changing the input to the observer. You're teaching your filters that their pre-programmed responses are not the only option. You're creating tiny cracks in the predictive model. Each micro-interruption is a tiny act of rebellion against the established loop. It's a signal to your deeper consciousness that new realities are possible, that the old script is no longer gospel. These small, deliberate choices begin to reshape the very symbols you interact with, symbols as wedges in the loop. Symbols act as powerful wedges within the loop, providing a language that bypasses the logical mind and speaks directly to the subconscious filters. Your reality is not just composed of physical objects, but also of pervasive symbols, deeply embedded with personal and collective meaning. These symbols often carry the weight of your internal narratives. Consider the recurring imagery in your life: a locked door, a broken mirror, a winding road. These aren't just scenic elements. They are reflections of your internal state, your identity lens. When you identify a symbolic representation of your stuckness, you can consciously choose to introduce a new counter-symbol. This isn't about manifesting a specific object. It's about altering the symbolic landscape of your internal world. For example, if you see a locked door as blocked opportunity, visualize or create a small key as a personal reminder of access. This act, however small, begins to reprogram the deeper associations. Symbols are the building blocks of reality at a subconscious level. By consciously manipulating them, you are not just changing your perception. You are beginning to reconstruct the foundational code that governs your experience. Yet, this process often feels like a reversal, where the very feedback you're escaping is still you. Reversal. The feedback you're escaping is still you. As you begin to pry open these loops, to disrupt the familiar, you might encounter resistance. You might feel a resurgence of the very patterns you're trying to dissolve. This is not a failure, it is a critical stage. It's the old identity's last stand, a final, powerful attempt to reassert its dominance and maintain the coherent reality it has carefully constructed. Think of it as the system's error message, indicating that the core programming is being challenged. What feels like a step backward is actually a confirmation of progress. The familiar struggles, anxieties, or self-doubt resurface with amplified intensity. They are echoes, projections from the identity that fears its own demise. This is the moment to remember that you are the observer, and you have the power to define what this feedback means. Do not interpret it as proof of your weakness or the futility of your efforts. Instead, see it as the identity lens beginning to crack under pressure, revealing the potential for something new to emerge. This paves the way for a crucial stage: collapse before outcome, collapse before outcome. This is the most challenging, yet ultimately liberating, phase. Before a new outcome can fully materialize, the old, entrenched reality must first collapse. This isn't a gentle fading away. It can feel like a profound destabilization, a period of heightened uncertainty. The structures of your old identity, the familiar narratives, the predictable loops, all begin to unravel. You might feel a sense of confusion, disassociation, or even a loss of direction. The world around you might seem less solid, less certain. This is not chaos, it is quantum potential reasserting itself. The old world, the one rendered by your previous identity, is giving way. There's a void, a temporary lack of definition, before the new reality can fully imprint. This is where many falter, retreating to the comfort of the known, even if the known is painful. But within this void lies immense creative power. It is the moment when all possibilities are equally potent before your new observer locks onto a specific trajectory. This moment of profound surrender to uncertainty is the key to unlocking the true paradox, seeing from outside the loop. The paradox trigger, seeing from outside the loop. This is the elusive shift in perception, the moment when you momentarily transcend your ingrained identity lens and glimpse reality unburdened by its filters. It's a sudden, profound awareness that the you experiencing the loop is merely one perspective. It happens when, in the midst of a familiar struggle, a wave of synchronicity, or a moment of deep introspection, you suddenly recognize the pattern for what it is, a production of your own consciousness. You see the strings, often while still being part of the play. This isn't about intellectual understanding. It's an experiential knowing, a brief but powerful detachment where the observed and the observer momentarily separate. You see the predictability of your own responses, the inevitable unfolding of events according to your deep-seated patterns, but from a vantage point just outside their grasp. This paradoxical vision is the true catalyst. Once you've seen the loop from outside, even for a moment, the illusion of its absolute unchangeability is shattered. The knowledge of its manufactured nature becomes a permanent crack in your old reality. This sets the stage for the final distortion. What was real was just repetition. Final distortion. What was real was just repetition. After experiencing the collapse and the paradoxical glimpse from outside the loop, a profound realization settles in. What you once believed to be solid, objective reality was, in fact, a carefully curated loop of repeated perceptions. Your entire life, in many ways, has been a rendering of the same core beliefs, the same identity lens, playing out its predetermined script. The differences were cosmetic, variations on a theme. The fundamental patterns remained stubbornly consistent. This is the ultimate distortion, mistaking the echo for the original sound. The struggles, the joys, the lessons, all were intricately woven into this fabric of repetition, serving to stabilize and reinforce the current identity. But now, that illusion has been shattered. You understand that reality wasn't fixed. It was a dynamic projection, constantly refreshed by your own internal mechanisms. With this truth, the power shifts entirely. You are no longer a passive recipient of circumstances, but the active architect of the loop itself. The old real was just a loop. The new real is now yours to consciously render. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.